Have you ever thought about how a simple story can become this powerful tool for social change? We're about to see how one incredible story created waves that literally helped reshape society. So, let's dive right in. So this is the big question, right? How can a piece of fiction, something made up, jump off the page and spark actual, real-world change? Let's break down exactly how that happens.
To really get a handle on this, we're going to use a pretty powerful metaphor, the ripple effect. It's the perfect way to see how everything can start with just one single, seemingly small action.
Okay, so just picture a moment of perfect stillness. You've got an unchallenged system, a society that's totally set in its ways. Everything is calm, maybe a little too calm. And then one single act comes along and disrupts everything.
That single act, that's the stone dropped into the water. It might not look like much at first, but believe me, its impact is just getting started. This is the core image we're going to keep coming back to.
So here it is, all laid out. The story is the stone. The society it lands in, that's the still pond. And the impact, the challenging of ideas, the conversations it starts, that call to action, well, those are the ripples. A story can completely unsettle the status quo, just like a stone messes with the water's calm surface.
Okay, so what's our stone for today's explainer? It's this absolutely brilliant short story by the Indian author Mukh Raj Anand, and it's called The Barber's Trade Union. This story is our ground zero, our initial point of impact.
So let's set the scene here, because the context is crucial. We're in 1944 India. It's a time of huge change, but a super rigid caste system is still deeply, deeply entrenched. The story's about this young barber, Chandu, who's being exploited by the village elites. And his response? He forms a trade union. I mean, for that time and place, that was a truly radical act of defiance. And this is what makes the story so powerful. Anand doesn't write Chandu as some helpless victim just waiting around to be saved. No way! He is an active agent in his own liberation. He takes control of his own destiny, which makes his story not about pity, but about pure empowerment.
So what gives this stone its weight? What makes this story so incredibly impactful? Well, the answer is the philosophical engine driving the whole thing, the ideals of Mahatma Gandhi. Let's look at how this blueprint for change really comes together. Anand weaves three core Gandhian principles right into Chandu's actions. First, he asserts his self-respect against the people who are trying to tear him down. Second, he gets that he can't do it alone, so he takes collective action by forming a union. And third, his entire protest is built on upholding the dignity of his work as a barber. That's the blueprint.
So you see, these principles are the force behind the stone. They're what turned Chandu's personal struggle into this universal call for justice and reform. It's not just one person's story anymore. It's a model for challenging oppression everywhere. Okay, so now we get the stone and we get the force. Let's look at how the author, Anand, actually creates those ripples. It all comes down to his masterful storytelling. It's just genius.
This comparison is so key. Look, Anand could have just written a straightforward political essay, right? Or some kind of sermon. But he didn't. Instead of just preaching at you, he uses this really subtle conversational style. He uses humor and irony to critique the village elite, which is so much more effective at drawing you in.
This quote just nails it. By telling a really compelling story, Anand doesn't force a conclusion on you. Instead, he invites you to empathize with Chandu, to feel that injustice for yourself, and to arrive at the conclusion on your own. He makes you a participant in the call for change. Now that's how you make waves.
All right, so let's zoom out for a second. This one story is a fantastic example, but it really points to a much bigger truth about the real-world impact of literature. The ripples from these stories can, and absolutely do, create lasting change.
This is what literature is capable of. It raises awareness in a way that raw data just never can. It can inspire movements, tear down harmful stereotypes, and even influence policy. And maybe most importantly, it gives a voice to the voiceless, validating their struggles and promoting that exact same dignity that Chandu fought for. Ultimately, that's the real power, isn't it? Stories create these incredible waves of empathy that connect us to people whose lives are completely different from our own. And that empathy, that's what fuels resistance to injustice. It inspires us not just to imagine a better world, but to actually get out there and start building one. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What book, what poem, What story has ever dropped like a stone into your world and sent out ripples, changing the way you think or see things? The power of narrative is everywhere. Thanks for tuning in.